So, welcome back. As we discussed how to generate a basis as well as the dimension for a subspace or a vector space, and we know that a vector space contains many kind of elements, numbers, vectors, polynomials, functions, etc., etc. So, whenever a subspace or vector space is given to you whose elements are polynomials, then how to obtain a basis for that set, right, that we discuss now. So, V is a vector space of polynomials over R, and W1 and W2 are subspaces generated by so I have written the sets like this: x cube plus x square minus 1, x cube plus 2x square, x cube plus 2x square plus 3x, then 2x cube plus 3x square plus 3x minus 1, and other set is given by x cube plus 2x square plus 2x minus 2, 2x cube plus 3x square plus 2x minus 3, and x cube plus 3x square plus 4x minus 3 respectively. Now, the question is given that find dimension of W1 plus W2 and dimension of W1 intersection W2. This was the question given there. So, please take a note of this, then we discuss on this one. So, here it is one of the interesting problems. Read the statement once again. He mentioned that V is a vector space of polynomials over R. So, what is the meaning? Whenever I write a polynomial, the coefficients in the polynomial are nothing but real numbers. So, this is the meaning. I can take any kind of polynomial whose coefficients are nothing but real numbers. So, in that vector space, you can imagine like this: this is my vector space V, right? Here I have taken two subspaces in this. One is W1 and another one is W2. So, obviously, you can observe that W1 intersection W2 is a subspace, and if you consider the entire space W1 plus W2, it is also a subspace. So, for these two subspaces, I need to find the dimension. So, here my interest is to calculate the dimension, not to calculate the basis. So, what is meant by dimension? Number of elements in the basis. So, if possible, I will find a basis for the sets, then I can count how many elements are there, then I will say this is the dimension of that set. Otherwise, I can apply any straight formula so that I will get the basis for them, okay, and as well as dimension. So, first of all, here you can observe that this is the first set: x cube plus x square minus 1, x cube plus 2x square plus 3x, 2x cube plus 3x square plus 3x minus 1. These three polynomials is a spanning set for W1, because he mentioned that generated by. The word generated by means it is the spanning set. So, if you take any vector, I mean here vector in the sense it is a polynomial. So, if you take any polynomial in W1, then you are going to write it as a linear combination of the three polynomials here. Then you have the other set: x cube plus 2x square plus 2x minus 2, 2x cube plus 3x square plus 2x minus 3, x cube plus 3x square plus 4x minus 3, right. This is the other set. which is the generating set, nothing but spanning set for W2, right. So, my intention is I will consider the spanning set separately, I will apply row operations on them, then I can calculate a basis for W1 as well as W2. So, first of all, I want to calculate the dimension as well as basis of W1. For this, I will do like this. Now, write the vectors in the order. So, what are the coefficients? 1, again 1, x is not there, so I will take 0, constant is minus 1. So, I will write that 1, again 1, 0, minus 1. From the second you have 1, again 2, 3, constant is not there, so I will take 0. Here again you have 2, 3, 3, minus 1. So, this is the matrix I will consider from the first spanning set. Now, I will apply operations on this. How I am going to apply? So, you can take R2 tends to R2 minus R1 and R3 tends to R3 minus 2R1. So, this will be equivalent to 1, 1, 0, minus 1. The first row remains as it is. So, while subtracting 1 minus 1, 0, 2 minus 1, 1, 3 minus 0, 3, 0 minus of minus 1 plus 1. So, while subtracting here, you get 0. This is 3 minus 2, 1. Again you have 3 minus 1 minus 1, this is plus 1. Again you can observe that R3 tends to R3 minus R1, I mean R2. So, this is equivalent to 1, 1, 0, minus 1, 0, 1, 3, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. So, after applying the row operations, you are left with two vectors. What are the vectors here? 1, 1, 0, minus 1 is one vector, 0, 1, 3, 1 is the other vector. So, these two vectors will form a basis for W1. Actually, W1 is nothing but the polynomial set. So, if you write a basis for this one, it is also a polynomial. So, from this how can you write polynomials? So, from the first vector you can say x cube plus x square minus 1, this is one polynomial, and from second row you have x square plus 3x plus 1 is the other one. So, these two polynomials will form a basis for W1, hence we confirm that dimension of W1 is equal to 2 because it contains two polynomials. So, in the same way we will do the basis and dimension for W2 as well. So, if you consider for dimension of W2, how to proceed with? If you write the coefficients, here you have 1, 2, 2, minus 2. From second polynomial you have 2, 3, 2, minus 3. And from third polynomial 1, 3, 4, minus 3 is there. So, I will apply the row operations as well. So, R2 tends to R2 minus 2 R1 and R3 tends to R3 minus R1. So, this is equivalent to, so first row remains as it is. So, 1, 2, 2 minus 2. So, from second row you have 0, this is performing 2 R1, so this will be minus 1, so this will be minus 2, so this will be plus 1. So, R3 minus R1, so 1 minus 1 0, 3 minus 2 1, 4 minus 2 2, minus 3 minus of minus 2, this is plus 1, so this will be minus 1. Again, if you simply subtract R3 tends to R3 minus R2, so this will be equivalent to 1, 2, 2 minus 2, 0, minus 1, minus 2, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. So, here after calculating the row operations, this is the final one you got. So, from the first row and second row, we will evaluate the basis for W2. So what is the basis here? X cube plus 2x square plus 2x minus 2. This is from the first row, minus x square minus 2x plus 1. This is the basis for W2 from the second row. This is the basis vector. So these two vectors will constitute a basis for W2. Hence, we say that dimension of W2 is equal to 2. Now what we will do? We will calculate the dimension of W1 plus W2 now. As I discussed earlier, W1 plus W2 is the set which consists of the subspace W1 and the subspace W2 as well. It contains the two sets. So I will take the spanning set of W1 and the spanning set of W2, and by taking the two sets together, I will form a big set. And I will say that this is the spanning set of W1 plus W2, because it contains the spanning vectors of W1 and the spanning vectors of W2. So if it is a linearly independent set, then it is okay. It will become a basis for W1 plus W2. If not, using that, again I will apply the row operations on this. I perform the final calculation, then I will say this is the basis for W1 plus W2. Okay, let us go on this. So for this, what I will do, I will take the first matrix as it is. I am not disturbing that. The calculation of row operations will vary here. So what I am doing? I am doing the calculation of dimension of W1 plus W2. For this I am doing, I have written all the values of W1 here without any change. Now I am taking the values of W2 here. So this is 1, 2, 2 minus 2. Here you have 2, 3, 2 minus 3, and here you have 1, 3, 4 minus 3. Now you can observe the difference. So this large matrix I am taking here. Now for this I am applying the row operations. So how I will apply? R2 tends to R2 minus R1, R3 tends to R3 minus 2 R1, R4 tends to R4 minus R1, R5 tends to R5 minus 2 R1, and R6 tends to R6 minus R1. So applying this here, this is equivalent to, first row will be as it is, 1, 1, 0, minus 1. So 1 minus 1, 0, 2 minus 1, 1, this is 3, this is plus 1. So R3 minus 2 R1, so this is 0, this is minus 1, this is 3. So R3 minus 2 R1 means this is again plus 1. So R3 minus 2 R1, right? So this is also 1. So R4 tends to R4 minus R1, so 1 minus 1, 0, 2 minus 1, 1, 2 minus 0, 2, minus 2, this is minus 1. R5 tends to R5 minus 2 R1, so this you are performing 0, so this is again 1, so this is 2, then you have minus 1. R6 tends to R6 minus R1, so this is again 0, 3 minus 1, 2, this is 4, this is minus 2. Now here you can observe that a set of rows are there which are dependent on the previous one, that you can observe here. So I will write the row operations like this. You can do the row operations in two ways. One is, using this you can make these two things as 0, because on observation you can easily verify that by multiplying double this will become completely 0, by subtracting this is completely 0, again by subtracting these two you will get non-zero. That is one way of doing. Or traditionally if you want to follow, by fixing only this element you are going to make all the remaining values as 0, right? You can do either the ways in applying the row operations. So I will do the shortcut way. So I will perform that. R3 tends to R3 minus R2, so this becomes 0. So using this I will take the remaining zeros as, so R5 tends to R5 minus R4 and R6 tends to R6 minus 2 R4. So this is equivalent to the values. First will be as it is. So 1 1 0 minus 1 0 1 3 1. So 0 0 0 0 0 1 2 minus 1 0 0 0 0. Again you have 0 0 0 0. Next what I will do? I will place all the zeros in the bottom and I will do the subsequent operations. So you can interchange these two rows and you can perform the subtraction between these two. So I will do that. R4 and R3 are interchanged and R3 tends to R3 minus R2. So performing this, 1 1 0 minus 1 0 1 3 1. If you subtract 1 minus 1 0, this is minus 1, this is minus 2, remaining all zeros. Here you can observe that it is in echelon form. All the values below the first diagonal value completely 0. If you take second row second element, all the values below this are 0. If you take third row third element, all the values below this are 0. So definitely it is in the echelon form. Now you can calculate how many number of non-zero rows are there. So excluding the 0 rows here, you have 1, 2, 3, 3 non-zero rows are there. So these 3 non-zero rows will form a basis for W1 plus W2. So therefore we can say dimension of W1 plus W2 is equal to 3. So if you want to know what is the basis, using the 3 rows, x cube plus x square minus 1, this is one polynomial, x square plus 3x plus 1, this is one polynomial, minus x minus 2, this is another polynomial. So these 3 together will constitute a spanning set as well as the basis for W1 plus W2, hence its dimension is 3. Now as per the problem part asked, we need to evaluate two things. One, dimension of W1 plus W2, and second, dimension of W1 intersection W2. So here this part is completed. We need to evaluate the second part. So for this we will have an important formula which is proved in the previous classes, that dimension of W1 plus W2 is equal to dimension W1 plus dimension W2 minus dimension of the intersection. So let us write that formula here and we evaluate that. So this is our formula. Dimension of W1 plus W2 is equal to dimension of W1 plus dimension of W2 minus dimension of the intersection. Substituting the values here. So this is 3 is equal to this value 2 minus dimension of the intersection. So implies we can say that dimension of W1 intersection W2 is equal to 4 minus 3, which is equal to 1. So this is the conclusion of the problem. So here we need to understand one thing. We are not calculating any basis for the intersection. We are just knowing how many elements are there in the basis. That is the only thing we are doing here. Okay. So we are calculating the number of elements in the basis, but we are not calculating the basis for the intersection. There is a different issue, right? Now I want to discuss one important theorem which is very useful. So before that, let us have a session on some of the definitions which are known to us. While taking abstract algebra, we have studied groups, subgroups, normal subgroups, cosets, Lagrange's theorem, everything you have studied there. There you know the concept of coset. So what is meant by a coset there? Okay. So whenever you take a vector space V and you take a subspace W, then for each vector alpha belongs to W, alpha belongs to V, we consider alpha plus W is equal to set of all alpha plus X such that X belongs to W. In the other way you can write, for each vector alpha belongs to V, we take W plus alpha is equal to set of all X plus alpha such that X belongs to W. So this set we call it as a coset with respect to W. So here alpha is written to the left hand side of W, so we call it as the left coset. Here alpha is written to the right hand side of W, we call it as right coset. However, the distinction between these two things are not important, because since V comma plus is abelian group, left coset, right coset both are same. So there is no need to think that separately again. So you can represent either of the form. You can take alpha plus W form or W plus alpha form. Whatever the thing you take, it is okay. So based on the definition of coset, we define the quotient space. As you have studied quotient group, quotient ring, etc. In the same pattern, we study quotient space as well here. So it is defined as set of V by W, defined as set of all cosets W plus alpha such that alpha belongs to V. So for each vector in V, corresponding coset will belong to V by W. Then this is a vector space, and generally while defining a vector space we require two operations, one plus, second dot multiplication. So plus we call it as the vector addition, dot we call it as scalar multiplication. So here in quotient space also we require two operations, plus we call it as the coset addition because V by W contains cosets R, and dot is scalar multiplication. So how do we multiply a coset with a number, right? So here we define like this. So if you take say alpha plus, here right cosets I have written, so you can take W plus alpha is one right coset, W plus beta is one right coset. Then how I do? I simply add them as W plus alpha plus W plus beta is equal to W plus of alpha plus beta. The set will remain as it is, only elements will be added. Same notation you will study in ring theory as well, the simultaneous paper in the current semester. And whenever you take a number A, if you multiply with the coset A into W plus alpha, the set remains as it is, we write it as W plus A alpha. So using these operations, we will define the quotient space V by W. It is nothing but a vector space. So geometrically, to understand quotient space or quotient group or what you call it as quotient ring, etc., etc., we can draw a picture like this. Suppose you take R square, the system of x axis and y axis you take, and we know that it is a group, it is a space as well. You can treat it any way. So if you take any line passing through origin, say any line, say y is equal to mx form. See here I have taken y is equal to x. So this is a subspace. Now what I do, corresponding to a point in the vector space, so alpha plus W or W plus alpha is nothing but I am drawing a line parallel to this. So this is my coset. If I say this is W, so this is my coset W plus alpha or alpha plus W, whatever the way you take. Please understand, since it is passing through the origin, so 0 plus W is nothing but W that you need to take, because the subspace always contains the 0 vector, it passes through the origin. So in this way you can consider the set of lines, so which are nothing but the cosets. So if you consider those lines in a separate set, that you are calling it as the quotient space. So this is for your visualization purpose. So how do we understand the meaning of a quotient set, the quotient space, the coset as well, right? Now we go on to one important theorem based on this, which is very interesting and useful in exam point of view, that we discuss now. So this is the statement: if W is a subspace of the finite dimensional vector space V of f, then dimension V by W is equal to dimension V minus dimension W. So this is the most important theorem that we are going to prove. Let us discuss with its approach, how we are going to prove it. It is very similar to the previous theorem of dimension of W1 plus W2, what we discussed earlier, but compared to that theorem it is somewhat easy. So let me write the approach first, which gives you an idea, so that while proving the remaining things you can easily understand the approach of the theorem, right. So first of all, you imagine the picture. This is our picture. It is given that V is a vector space and W is a part in this. So for W I will take a basis. So for W take a basis. So whenever you take a linearly independent set in the total vector space, then by adding some vectors to it, you can form a basis for the total vector space, which is nothing but the basis extension theorem we discussed earlier. So I will obtain a basis for V. Then what I do, I will consider the value of RHS. So I will know what is meant by dimension V and I will know what is meant by dimension W. So I will get some value. So whatever the number comes here, I must show that the same number will come for LHS. So here I define a set having the required number of elements. Then I prove that it becomes a basis of V by W. So what happens? Ultimately you have proved that LHS is equal to RHS. So dimension of V by W is equal to dimension V minus dimension W. So this is the approach of the problem. Again I repeat, what I will do, I will take a basis for W. By adding some vectors, I will form a basis for V. Then I calculate the value of the RHS. To prove that LHS is equal to RHS, I define a set with required number of elements to prove the theorem, right. So then I prove that it will become a basis for V by W. So then you have LHS is equal to RHS, hence we have proved that dimension V by W is equal to dimension V minus dimension W. Okay. Now let us go with the approach. So let us take, say, capital B is equal to alpha 1, alpha 2, so on alpha n is a basis of W. So what it means, you can imagine that this is a set in W. Okay. So total how many elements are there? N elements are there, hence we know that dimension W is equal to n. So what is the hierarchy you have taken? B is a part in W, W is a part in V, and B is linearly independent set. Hence, by basis extension theorem, what you studied earlier, B can be extended to form a basis of V. So, what is meant by extended? By adding some more vectors to this set, you can find a basis for V. So, let us take it is say B dash. So, B dash is equal to alpha 1, alpha 2, so on alpha n. These things will be as it is. You take some more vectors beta 1, beta 2, so on beta m is basis of V. Let us take that. Therefore, what is dimension of V? So, here alphas are n in number, betas are m in number. So, this is total m plus n elements. Again check out the procedure what I did. I have taken a basis for W, I have obtained a basis for V. Now, I am going to calculate the value of RHS. So, RHS value, which is nothing but dimension V minus dimension W. So, this is equal to dimension V is m plus n, dimension W is n. So, this output is m. So, I have calculated the value of RHS. So, what is the value of RHS? I got that value as m. So, to prove the claim, I need to show that LHS also has the same value. It means I should find a basis for V by W which contains exactly m elements. I repeat again, for the set V by W, I must find a basis which contains exactly m elements. But actually, V by W is the quotient space, it contains all cosets. So, in order to get a basis for this, I require m cosets with me. So, I have to define a set with m cosets that should become a basis for V by W. Now, if you observe the elements or vectors what I have written, alphas are n in number, betas are m in number. Please understand, as I mentioned, this is a basis of V, all these vectors belongs to V, it is a part of V, right. So, to get m values or m cosets on the left hand side, for each of the beta here, I will generate the corresponding coset. So, what I will take? I will take W plus beta 1, one coset, W plus beta 2, another coset, so on, W plus beta m, another coset. So, I have got total m cosets with me, and I will verify if I put all these m cosets into one set, whether it becomes a basis or not, that I will do. So far, I have done with the RHS part, now I am moving towards with the LHS, right. So, let me write the counterparts or the notes what we have done here. So, this is a basis of W, this thing we have taken, and B dash is equal to alpha 1, alpha 2, so on alpha n, beta 1, so on beta m is a basis of V. These things we have considered. Now, you define a set, define S is equal to W plus beta 1, W plus beta 2, so on W plus beta m. So, this is the set of cosets you have taken. Clearly, it is a subset of V by W. Why? Because basically the definition of V by W is given by, if you take any vector alpha in V, then the corresponding coset will be here. So, you can write like this, W plus alpha such that alpha belongs to V. So, for every vector alpha in V, corresponding coset will be in V by W. So, by default all these cosets will belong to V by W. Now, we prove that this set is a basis of W. So, S forms a basis of W that we need to show. Now, see what you are going to prove. Basis means it has two properties. It must be a linearly independent set and it must be a spanning set. So, first of all I want to prove that it is a linearly independent set. So, what is meant by linear independence? Whenever I write that linear combination is 0, then all the scalars in that linear combination must be equal to 0. So, for this you write a linear combination as, say, A1 into W plus beta 1 plus A2 into W plus beta 2 plus so on plus AM into W plus beta M is equal to 0 bar plus W, or you can write W plus 0 bar, whatever the way you want write you can write. Since I have taken right cosets, I will write it as W plus 0 bar. Now, here A1 is a number, you are multiplying with a coset. Please understand, all these scalars A1, A2, so on AM are taken in the field F. So, A1, A2, so on AM are taken in the field F. So, how do we multiply a scalar and a coset? The set remains as it is, only this vector will be multiplied with the number. So, this is nothing but W plus A1 beta 1 and this is W plus A2 beta 2 plus so on plus W plus AM beta M is equal to W plus 0. Then how do we add the cosets? It is very simple, set will be remained as it is, only corresponding vectors will be added. So, I can write it as W plus A1 beta 1 plus so on plus AM beta M is equal to W plus 0. So, you have very similar result at ring theory. You have like A plus U is equal to B plus U if and only if A minus B belongs to U. Whenever two cosets are equal, corresponding difference will belong to the set. Using the same technique here, I can say that A1 B1 plus so on plus AM beta M belongs to W. Since for W it is a basis, so what is the meaning of it? Please understand. If you simplify the entire expression, this entire expression is nothing but a vector, one single vector, and this single vector belongs to where? It belongs to W. So, you can write this vector as a linear combination of basis of W. So, here I will write that. So, I will make space on the top. So, there exist scalars B1, B2, so on Bn such that A1 beta 1 plus so on plus AM beta M is equal to, say, B1 alpha 1 plus so on plus Bn alpha n. Since it is a basis for W, I can write like that. Now, you take all the values to the left hand side. So, you have minus B1 into alpha 1 plus so on plus minus Bn into alpha n plus A1 beta 1 plus so on plus AM beta M is equal to 0 bar. Now, please understand, it is nothing but a linear combination of alphas and betas. So, this is linear combination of alphas and betas which is equal to 0 bar. As alphas and betas are a basis, so you can say that since it is a basis, all the scalars are 0, all scalars must be 0. That is, all A values 0, all B values 0. Therefore, the set S is linearly independent. Why it is linearly independent? I have written a linear combination using the elements of S. Then I have proved that the scalars existed in this linear combination, all are become 0. Hence, by definition, it is a linearly independent set. Again, observe what I did. In the step 1, I have defined a set S here. How? By taking m cosets. Then what I did, I want to prove that it is a basis for V by W. So, how to prove that? I have to prove that it contains two properties. One, linear independence. Two, a spanning set. Now, I want to prove the linear independence. How do we prove? We will write a linear combination for that and we make that equal to 0. On the simplification, I got that whatever the scalars I have taken in this linear combination, all are become 0. Hence, I confirm that this is a linearly independent set. Now, there is a second property, that is I must show that it is a spanning set of V by W. Okay? Let us prove that. Again, I repeat what is meant by spanning set. So, now we prove that we have the set S spans V by W. So, how to prove? Whenever we take a coset in V by W, that can be written as a linear combination of elements of S. So, for this you take, say, x plus W or W plus X you take. W plus X belongs to V by W. So, immediately from the definition, how do we form a coset? For every value in V, W will be added, that is the corresponding coset. So, here it is of the form W plus X, that means for X, W is added. So, we can say X belongs to V. As we know, this is a basis for V. So, for every element in V, you can write a linear combination using this basis. So, you can write X is equal to, by taking some scalars, say C1 alpha 1 plus so on plus Cn alpha n plus D1 beta 1 plus so on plus Dm beta m. Since V has basis. Now, to this expression, you add W on both sides. So, you can say W plus X is equal to W plus this entire thing. So, for convenience, what I will take, the alpha combination what I have written here, I will indicate with some number. Say, thus I am taking it as Y plus D1 beta 1 plus so on plus Dm beta m. Because all the alphas belongs to W. So, whenever you write a linear combination, that also belongs to W. So, this alphas combination, I am taking a symbol, this is Y, right. Therefore, Y belongs to W, right. So, this you can write it as W plus Y plus W plus this entire thing. Again, since Y is element in W, so Y plus W is nothing but W. So, this is nothing but W plus, again W plus this entire value. Please understand, this W is, whenever you are adding the cosets, it is just like the set, there is no change it. So, W plus W is nothing but again W. So, the output what you get here is W plus X is equal to W plus D1 beta 1 plus so on plus Dm beta m. Again, by using the sum of the cosets property, this is W plus D1 beta 1 plus W plus D2 beta 2 plus so on plus W plus Dm beta m. Again, applying scalar multiplication property of cosets, this is D1 into W plus beta 1 plus D2 into W plus beta 2 plus so on plus dm into W plus beta m. So this is nothing but linear combination of elements of S. Therefore, S spans V by W. Therefore, what happens? S is a basis of V by W. What is the dimension of V by W? Number of elements in S. How many elements are there? S contains exactly m elements. So, dimension of V by W is equal to m. So, hence LHS value is m, RHS value is m. So, both are equal, right. Please understand, the elements taken on the right side, taken on the left side are different. On the right hand side you have vectors, on the left hand side you have cosets, but you are not considering the pattern, you are considering the number. How many elements are there on the right hand side and how many elements are there on the left hand side? We are taking a match between them. So, we are saying that LHS is equal to RHS. Number of elements in the left hand side is equal to number of elements in the right hand side. That is only you are counting here, right. So, thank you very much. With this, I will stop my discussion here. Thank you.